Well, it's the end of the quarterfinals. I'm joined right now by Forg1ven, who has easily got himself into the semifinals. Forg1ven, I think a lot of people were favoring H2K today, but did you expect it to be so, one-sided?
Definitely not. I expect at least the first game to be very close. I mean, in terms of because we don't know an exit match, nobody knows, no matter what research you're gonna do, and they're just a very different team than any other team we have played against so far in Worlds, not only in Worlds, but in Korea, bootcamp, etc., etc. So the first two games that ended before 30 or 26, 27 minutes were really surprising because we just team fight once and the game is over. It reminds me in a way of spring playoffs with these old pads where if you die around mid game you have 60 seconds of death timer, so it was very reminiscent of this scenario. And the third game is classic H2K game where against the Fnatic, for example, in summer playoffs now, we stomped them first two games and then the third game was very shaky. But since I was super fed, there was no way I was gonna let the game go away. Right. So.
Now, the crowd seemed to heavily favor Alvis Knox. Yeah. Did that tilt you at all, or did you care?
I mean, why would someone care? I mean, crowd's a crowd. They can cheer for everyone, favorite or not, outsider or not, underdog or not. It's very reasonable why they will cheer for Albus, and I would prefer that because let's say it was their last series of the season, so I think they deserve to go out with an applause from the crowd, because they didn't only gave applause as a crowd, you could sense that it was just a very general appreciation of the entire community, or League of Legends viewers from what ANX did this watch, which was really surprising and really respectful for me. So as I even told them when we were handshaking, but you guys should be proud of what you did. It's really huge.
Well, you are now the last non-Korean team standing. What do you think of that?
I mean, there are still some Koreans. For example, we have 3 Korean teams. Ryu, who is Korean, and the white Korean, which is me. Joking by the way, obviously. I mean, nobody could theoretically expect H2K that we will go from almost relegated in summer to I rejoin because of injury of a player, then we go into magical run of 5-0, 11-1, 11-2, and now pretty much the same if we exclude week 1, which we suffered a lot from jet lag, and almost everyone of us that is not named Yankos and me were sick, literally all of us. So yeah, I mean, it's really nice. Personally, I hope this can also stop kind of a circuit of every guys have so many achievements, and all you ever did was farm and outplay mechanically and blah blah blah. And now I kind of join in the same position that they are. So this is gonna get shut down. So this is the biggest personal achievement for mine. And I'm looking forward to the series against SSG. I mean, obviously, I think for whoever is not named SKT, I think we have valid chances to at least take one game and possibly more. I think they are heavy favorites. They come obviously from a way better, way more competitive league, because whoever watched European LCS this season was terrible.
Okay.
Sorry for
no, you
yeah. It was actually really terrible in terms of competition. Only the fact that I'm allowed to go back without practice for 2 or 3 months by playing a different game and just stomp people or do whatever I always did for so many years, it's really surprising to me, because normally I should be what Koro1 was when he subbed for EDG yesterday. It was out of sync and just really out of a game, out of a meta of a game in general. Let's just come back and we all click again. So
yeah, I mean, do you think that is a thing that players could do? Because we talk a lot about how long the schedule is for top-tier players. Do you think that we might see top-tier players start to take breaks from the game and come back, especially looking at your example of you took a break, came back, and you seem fine?
I mean, obviously you have to be kind of naturally talented at the games, and you also have to combine this with a very good work ethic, or at least a very smart work ethic, just mindlessly grinding 20 games of solo queue per day. It's not going to do anything. It's going to give you 5%, and maybe not even that. Maybe it's going to give you minus 10%, because you're going to get fed with the game by itself at some point. And also, in my opinion, League of Legends is, for a year at least now, I would say since Cinderhawk was introduced back in season 5, early, but the game went to a road of less and less mechanical basis for the game itself. So I'm if a game doesn't demand any overreaching level of mechanics, why would I be a dump person and just harm myself by just playing the game over and over for no reason? Because The AD carry, for example, is like probably the most like, how would I say it? Yeah, it's like the role that doesn't demand as much as the other roles, like obviously in comparison to jungler or other roles, and like you just plug and play, basically. And like what you normally do as an AD carry is like you pretty much play to your advantages. You try to hit whoever comes at you. If not, you go in. You can have a very good early game if you are a good early game player, obviously, and then you're just gonna farm until a point that like fights or skirmishes are gonna happen. Yeah. But it's basically the role. Like there's not like like every role is so demanding in comparison to each other. I think AD is the lowest. So I think people are gonna become smarter. They are gonna think again of like this mode of like grinding the game for 24/7. Right. I
mean, that's like the Korean mode, though, right? It's like people say that Koreans, they scrim and then they go and like solo queue for hours and hours afterwards.
Yeah, but I think the culture in Korea, in terms of the culture of the West, is very different. It's obviously various reasons, at least from what I saw from my time there, and in general from what you can hear, like how people behave or like play under a team or like obey their coach or like their infrastructure or just the guy that has authority. I mean, in West, players have more authority, coaches have less. We are also way more relaxed. I mean, at least, for example, back in 2014, I could surely say that like NA was all about to please the crowd. Yeah. There was no level of competition at all. Right. I'm sorry, but like right now, you already see that there are like these small, not baby steps, but these small like 10 to 15-year-old steps where like you try to play better and better, like try to play less for the crowd, and like okay, you have money, but you try to use it more because like NA you just throw the money away, and while Europe has better players. Yeah.
So well, that's why we bring them to North America, right?
Yeah, I mean, I tried to come various times, like when I tried to join CLG and Cares, but I think it's like, if they somehow managed to get a better idea or mindset, because Impact said some time ago that like when he was discussing between him and GBM, that like the thing you have to care about if you're an import in America, it's not the other Koreans or the other nationalities you're gonna find when you go in, but they are Americans. What is the disparity between, like, let's say, the American players of Immortals, between the American players of TSM or CLG? Yeah. And that's basically it. So if NA manages to get a way better idea of the game and become more professional and try to be more demanding, not only by the players itself, but actually demanding, like not faint demanding, like they failed again, like this was not the greatest, and like, okay, maybe next year. No, if he fails, there is a reason that he failed. Right. It's like school, like you can't get away with this. You shouldn't get away with this.
Now, 2 more questions. We were talking right before this. You were saying you actually missed double lift a little bit at the quarterfinals. Do you want to elaborate on that at all?
I mean, when I was in Korea, like I messaged him sometimes to hang around because I wanted to, like, I'm very appreciative of him as a personality and as a player. Like I always looked up to him, not only in the game, but like I think he's a very charismatic figure, and it's one of these people that like they don't only, I guess, talk only about League of Legends, but for other things in life. Mm-hmm. And so I think we're both kind of on the same age. I don't know.
He likes talking about anime a lot. Do you like talking about anime?
I mean, obviously not, but we're gonna find something. Like I have watched Death Note. It's the only anime I have ever watched in my life. Yeah, but I guess I could give it a try.
Yeah. He keeps trying to get me to watch anime with him, so maybe you could watch anime with him.
Yeah, you know, we could maybe watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine together.
Okay. Okay, good, yeah. And then finally, is there anything? Oh, well, I do want to ask. Do you have memes already prepared for right after this interview?
I mean, I guess like tomorrow when I wake up, I will just prepare my desktop. Okay. You know, where I sit and like just gonna do nothing and like, let's see what can I think or what can I create, and then I'm gonna choose my top 3, and then I'm gonna post it on either Facebook and Twitter. But I definitely have something like always.
That's your meme creation process. Is like you go in, you set it up, come up with the best 3, etc.
I mean, for example, like people, I don't know how they say it, but like I'm very supposedly look-alike of Steve Jobs, you know, and like he invented like all this technology, etc. Right. Like, I invented lane phase because I'm Steve Jobs supposedly. So, I mean, it's not the greatest meme, but as you understand,
I'll iterate on it.
More prepared.
Okay, so. Good. I'm glad. I'm excited for this. Anything you want to say to any of the fans out there?
Like. Obviously, like at around 2018, I kind of have to go from the game because that's around somewhere where there is a very known story of me and the specific duty I have to do. So I'm playing like in this region for a lot of years, like in Europe. So I kind of want to experience a different region at some point in my life for sure. Because even though I dislike traveling a lot, I actually hate airplanes. Yeah. It's a way of going somewhere. Like there is no other way. Like I'm not Dennis Bergkamp, you know. You know the story, right?
No, I don't.
He was like a very famous Dutch player, one of the best players in football, where like he was very afraid of airplanes. So he would go like with cars towards from wherever to whatever, like literally. And sometimes he will never go just because it wouldn't be worth it.
Right.
So I wish that if I don't, let's say, stay with H2K, like I don't stay in Europe, or like I don't go to a path of streaming, I hope that like I get to either experience China or America or like another region where basically they will have some English-speaking people. Yeah. Like not only like let's say to cash in or whatever. Like on my teams I was never the most paid, biggest paid player, but I just want to. I just want to change at some point because I think in Europe I literally did whatever I could all these years and like it never paid out that much eventually. Right. Like I only created like a very individualistic idea of myself. Sure. So.
Very good. Well, thank you so much for the interview. Congratulations on making it on to semifinals. Excited to see you go head-to-head against Samsung Galaxy in just a couple days. For everyone else, you can check out the rest of our coverage of all things esports here at Yahoo Esports.